Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to the Ali Brothers podcast, episode number 3. And today we have the home team. We have Ali Brother number 1 and number 2. So, for anyone who doesn't know who we are at this point, I'm Hassan Ali, and this is my brother.
I'm Ali Brother number 1.
Ali Brother number 1, okay, fair enough.
Did you consider for a second that you're Ali Brother number 1?
I was just saying. So today, like the topics that we wanted to discuss today. Now we're recording this. Is it the 1st of May? I think it's the 1st of May. It is the 1st of May.
Yeah. We should probably know that.
It's the 1st of May, and it's been a little while since Ramadan is finished and we've passed Eid. So we wanted to talk about some reflections from Ramadan 2023, and talking about how the Ali Brothers channel kind of. The journey that we went through in Ramadan in particular, and we'll talk about some similar subjects. Do you want to get started for us, Haseeb?
Yeah, Ali Brother number 1 can get started.
Okay, fair enough.
This Ramadan has been very, very interesting. I have to say, first of all, I'm very, very grateful for the experience. It's been, for me, I think for our family in particular, it's been very special. One of the reasons it's been very special is because it's actually the first Ramadan that it's actually the first Ramadan we've been together right? In such a long time.
For the whole Ramadan, yeah.
For the whole Ramadan. Yeah, it's always either I'm in a different country, you're studying, and we've always been in different places for the past, I don't know, 10 years?
A long time. Right?
Yeah, a very long time.
Yeah.
Maybe over a decade.
Yeah.
So it was a very special experience for our whole family.
Yeah.
And we were together for all of it, and that kind of you came together spiritually as well. It was amazing, and especially for us both, because it was the first time we led Taraweeh in full together. I've led Taraweeh in full on my own before. You've led Taraweeh on your own before.
Yeah.
But this is the first time we've actually done it together in full. The whole thing.
Yeah.
That's been amazing.
Yeah.
And very different to any other Taraweeh experience that we've had before.
That's right. Yeah.
So, a lot of firsts.
And
another first for me personally was that I went in with, I would say, a very different attitude to fasting.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's very well known in the community now that I am not a fan of fasting, or I wouldn't say I'm not a fan of fasting. It's just I find it very difficult.
Yeah.
The schedule, everything, I find it very difficult. But this time it was just different, and I think the family has a lot to do with it. The fact that I was leading Taraweeh with you has so much to do with it. And I love the kind of discipline it's built throughout the month. What about yourself?
Pretty much the same. Like, it's been the first time that we've been together for the whole of Taraweeh, which is it's of course the night prayer, the special night prayer that we have in Ramadan every night, where we recite the Quran and we tend to complete the recitation of the Quran. So that in particular was quite an experience, because I've been doing it for like 8 or 9 years now, I think. And we've always had we always had guests over to recite with us, because we don't have that many people who've memorized the Quran in our local city. But this was the first time that we didn't need to bring any guests, because it was myself and my brother, alhamdulillah, we were here. And it was, alhamdulillah, it was quite an experience. And the interesting thing about that is, it might seem like, if you have someone traveling from like South Africa, from the UK or Pakistan to do it, that it's going to be difficult to kind of make that connection, in terms of that relationship, and also like the shorthand, those kind of the gestures that you have, like the connection that you have and the understanding of what the experience is like. But it's actually very quick that you make that connection because of the Quran, because of the experience of Taraweeh.
The pressure as well.
The pressure. But everyone can relate to that, especially people who are in that position, who have memorized and they lead. But when it comes to like someone from your family like yourself, it's it brings a lot of pressure off, in the sense that like it's the same as like a friend or someone in a team or in a committee, that like you know each other very well. You know, like if there's an issue, you know if like what the problem is, like if there's something that you want to get sorted. So having that, it really brought another experience, and that's obviously not only connected to Taraweeh, but like in any situation where whether it's public speaking, whether it's like teamwork, anything, if you have someone who can relate to you in that level, it's a very interesting experience, and it relieves a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's that shorthand you're talking about that you don't even need to say anything to the other person. You just look at them and they get exactly what it is that you need at that moment.
Yeah.
And that's a real beautiful experience. You just give them a look and you know, okay, I'm doing something wrong, or I need to do more of something. Or this is what I need from you right now.
Yeah.
That's an amazing experience. And I would really recommend, you know, anyone who has a brother especially, it's when you develop that relationship, it's so advantageous in every aspect of life. This is obviously a very particular example of that when you're leading Taraweeh and there's all of that pressure. Obviously, it's great to have someone like that by your side. But also, you're talking about it relieves a certain kind of a pressure. It also adds a certain kind of a pressure, you know? And that's important to highlight because now you have... It's one of your own, so you value them differently to if it's, you know, some guest coming from abroad. Of course,
especially when it's you and me responsible for all of Taraweeh during the whole month.
Exactly.
It's like, all right, it's not like two different entities that like, okay, you can bounce off each other and like both of you can kind of take the blame, or if there's something going on.
Oh yeah.
It's like all within the one, team. And like we have to deal with the pressure ourselves. So that makes sense.
Your reputations are...
They're one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You, in many cases, for ourselves as well, because everybody thinks we look the same. I don't think we look the same.
I don't know where
even our parents don't think we look the same. I think we look quite different.
Yeah, like we're saying that we have a cousin from Pakistan.
Yeah.
He looks a lot more similar to you, genuinely.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's hilarious.
I think it's easier to accept that he would be my brother rather than yourself.
A lot of people say that we sound similar, and that makes sense.
Yeah, we do sound similar.
Yeah.
But looks-wise, I don't really get that.
Yeah, if you think we look similar, then please type in the comments or send us a message.
Yeah, if you do.
And explain yourself. We really don't see it.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
and even when our own parents are saying that that's not really the case.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that a lot of people... The point I'm trying to make is that, if you let me make it, is that people would see us as one. So our reputations, it's not just about what I'm doing, how I'm performing in the prayer, right?
What you do is going to be connected to
exactly
to
everything. So I have the pressure of, okay, not only do I have to perform for myself, for my own reputation, I have to perform for both of us. And the same goes for yourself, because people are always going to connect. It's the Ali brothers. You know, they see us as one entity. I see us as one entity. So it's very, very important. But that added pressure, it brings about, let's call it, performances in Taraweeh that are really enjoyable.
And very memorable.
They're really, really beautiful. And it makes you up your game to a completely another level when you have someone else's reputation to take care of as well. And when you take that, responsibility, you know?
Yeah.
You okay there?
In my left foot there, yeah.
Maybe it's the way you're sitting.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, so... That's what I was saying.
Okay. Yeah, that's anything else from Ramadan, like the fasting in particular. Like you're always crying about. It's long and like it's amazing, mashallah. You've done quite exceptional. Like, to be honest, like you
compared to how I've done in the past few years,
it's quite interesting. It's quite something. Like.
It's very different. I don't even know. I'm surprised by it.
Yeah.
And of course, it has something to do with the blessings of Ramadan.
Yeah.
But I went into it with a mindset. It's that pressure actually. That, okay, we are responsible now for the Taraweeh. I have to do everything in my power to do the best I can there, right? And obviously that means you have to take care of yourself practically during the fast. So,
not for yourself, but like...
For everyone else, because you take on that responsibility. It's funny, people... They won't do things for themselves, but if they're made responsible for someone else, they'll do it. So they'll step up.
I think that's one of the rules in Jordan Peterson's first book. He said, take care of yourself as someone that you...
as if you're taking care of a loved one. Or,
Take care of yourself as if,
Yeah, we'll put it down here.
Treat yourself like someone you're responsible for helping.
Treat yourself like someone you're responsible for helping. Yeah, that's exactly what we were doing, because we had that, or for myself, I had that extra responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay, not only do I have to lead the prayer, but now I'm leading it with Hassan. So my portion has to be really good. I have to go over his portion really good, because I have to know what mistakes he has, where I need to pay extra attention, all of those things. So I really upped my game and my mindset and discipline. Everything I took care of, from a practical perspective, everything was really, really as perfect as I could make it.
Exactly. If you're in that position when you're leading the community, and if you don't take care of yourself like someone you're responsible for taking care of, and it's not only you who suffer, like the whole community suffers.
Yeah.
And this is something that everyone can learn from. Like, you're all part of a family, you're all part of a small team, a group of colleagues, a group of friends. Or if you're in a committee, if you're in one of those kind of leadership positions, whether that's quote unquote Islamic or otherwise, if you're in that position, if you're at the head of a team, if you start complaining about something, nothing's going to get done.
Yeah.
Like, there's literally no hope, because you're the one who's supposed to take everyone else's problems into account and like make things easy for everyone else. But if you're complaining from the top that like, oh, the mic is this way, oh, like this, oh, the pressure is, if you start complaining, then good luck. That like, the whole everyone else is screwed. Like,
yeah. There was something else I wanted to say. Yes, about the responsibility. Now, during Ramadan, we would get obviously a lot of invitations for opening our fast, for iftar, to come open with many people. It's just this is pretty standard. You know?
it's standard.
And we would get a lot of invitations. Our family would get a lot of invitations to come and open the fast with people. We declined all of them. And this is a very important point. Why did we decline all of them? Not because we were rude. Not because we don't like these people. Not because we don't want to open our fast with them or spend time with them. It's nothing to do with that. It's about what is our priority. And even if that makes people dislike us, even in the long term, I'm completely fine with that. Why? Because our responsibility is we have to lead Taraweeh really well. And if we go start accepting invitations from everyone, we're not going to, our time isn't going to be managed very well. Our Taraweeh might not be as good as it could be, or the absolute best that we could possibly make it. And the funny thing is, when that starts happening, people start complaining about that.
Yes.
So this is important. People are probably going to complain either way. It's about doing what you have to do practically and prioritizing your duties.
That's the other thing about that position. That like, if you allow those complaints and those even accusations or those those issues come your way, and you're like, oh, the community is so unfair. Like, well then, like, your reputation is out the window, but also like the community is going to be, there's going to be a void in the community, and like no one's going to know what to do. So that's what you're saying, that like even if it makes people dislike you or like be offended like somewhat, so be it. If the alternative is for you not to do a good job in fulfilling your responsibilities. And that was particularly for this year. That it was the first time we were together, and it was quite a different experience for us. But even before, when we were leading like separately, and like we would go for iftars in different places, it would always be that like, okay, the host knows that you have the imam here, and like he's going to have his bit. He's not going to eat much, and then he's going to like they're going to give us like a separate room to go over his thing, or he's going to leave early. And they're going to accommodate that, and they have to do that. But that's exactly what's required in that position. That like it's not for yourself; it's for their own good. So
exactly. And that's we talk about the higher good. It's about the highest responsibility, because here our responsibility is not to be accepting invitations, especially when it starts compromising our job, our highest duty, which is our highest duty in this particular month, in this particular case, is serving the community by leading the Taraweeh prayers, by leading the night prayers, right? And we have to do everything in our power to do that to the best of our ability. If we're accepting these invitations, we're not going to be able to do that to the best of our ability. And also, if that starts showing in the way we lead our prayers, like I said, the people are going to start complaining about that, and we're also neglecting our primary duty to the community. And that's what's really important, that on whatever journey you take in your life, whatever goals you have, you really have to put those first and foremost. Understand that you're not going to please everyone. In fact, you shouldn't be going through life with that mentality anyway, that I'm doing this to please this person, that person. It's about whatever goal you have, try your best to have the highest goal, the best goal, the most productive goal for everyone. So the most productive goal for us in this particular case was to do our best when it comes to leading the Taraweeh. That's also not just for ourselves, that's the highest good, because it doesn't just serve us. It's not something, yes, it serves us, but it serves the whole community. So that should be our goal, not to accept people's invitation just to please them. And we have been called many different things when we reject these invitations. Arrogant, cocky, egotistical. Frankly, we don't care. And the reality is, if someone actually wants to hang out with you, then they'll make way. They'll go out of their way to accommodate you, because they understand that you have a goal. They understand that you have more important responsibilities. They'll wait till after Ramadan, or they'll do it, like you said, in such a way where, okay, come to our house. We understand. They'll provide you with a room to go over the Quran that you have to go that you have to recite that evening. And that's the thing. Understand that people will accommodate for you as long as you keep your goal, whatever goal as your priority.
If you don't respect yourself, no one's going to respect you. No one's going to care about you. If you don't respect yourself, especially if you're in a leadership position, and we say specifically Islamic because that's where you are disconnected to the position that you have. If you're in a position that you're leading the community, you have the responsibility of leading prayers. It's not up to you. It's not about your position. It's about you requiring the respect for the position of leadership, of Islamic leadership.
Yeah, exactly. The point is that if you're an imam in the community, right, the reason that you should be respected, not only that you should be respected, but you should be comfortable with demanding a certain level of respect, is because that leadership position is the leadership position of the Prophet, Muhammad, peace be upon him, right? So you demanding respect is for that position, because it's the Prophet's position that you have taken.
And it would be different if someone comes to your house and they're a bit, maybe they don't respect you that much. Fair enough, that's a different thing. But when you're on that stage, when you're leading, when you're giving khutbahs in those situations, it doesn't mean that when you're in private that you just be an idiot. No, but you have to disconnect yourself if you have that position. You have to force that respect. And also in terms of what you have, for example, if you've memorized the Quran, if you have Islamic knowledge, if you respect yourself as a Muslim who is doing their best as a leader, even put that to the side. If you respect yourself for whatever you have the blessings Allah has given you. If you're physically privileged, if you're intellectually privileged, you have to respect that. And if you don't respect that, no one else is going to care.
Exactly.
And that's exactly it.
It's about the representation at the end of the day. Just to clarify that point, it's not about your own ego. It's not about respect me because I'm great. No, it's that a certain amount of respect is necessary because of the position that I'm in. So you let's take a political leadership, for example, the prime minister or the president. A certain amount of respect should be demanded. Why? Because of the position. It's not necessarily because of the ego that they have or that person. I understand politics is complicated, but the point is that and also they should be acting in a certain way because they're in a position of respect. And when they do that, when the imams, when the leaders, when the presidents, when the prime ministers, when they act in a certain way, it should be because of the respect that they're showing to their own position of president, of prime minister, of imam.
Yeah.
And that's why you need to, any imams or leaders of the communities, they should be more comfortable demanding that respect, not because of their own ego, but because that is a position of respect. And that in and of itself is worship when it comes to the Islamic teachings.
The other thing about leadership and trying to excel in your different fields, you have to forego certain privileges. In the month of Ramadan, and some of you guys who are watching, you probably give talks and you deliver lectures and perhaps you recite Quran during the month of Ramadan. You know that you can't drink cold water, you can't have that when you break your fast. You know that you can't eat too much, like where you're going to be, you're not going to be as sharp when you're fulfilling those responsibilities. And again, when it comes to the mentality, if you're not ready to do that, then don't expect to retain that level of leadership and that level of respect, because you're not going to care about yourself if you don't make those sacrifices.
Yeah, and when it comes to leadership positions, it's about, like you mentioned earlier, the leadership positions, it requires more and more sacrifice. The higher you go up, the more sacrifice and responsibilities. It's not about power. It's about responsibility.
Yeah.
The higher up you go, the more responsibility you have, and definitely the more you have to sacrifice to get to that place. Yeah. So as you were explaining, when it comes to us leading the Taraweeh, for example, you've gone through a day of fasting. It's difficult, and you get to a point where you finally open your fast, you finally eat food, but you can't fill yourself up like everyone else. Everyone else has that luxury. Yeah. We don't have that luxury. Why? Yeah. Because you know that in another hour or another hour and a half, I have to lead the whole community in night prayer for an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes. So that's why, I can't eat too much. I can only eat enough so I have enough energy to lead, and I can't overeat. And these are the sacrifices. And why? Because we respect the position of leadership. If we didn't respect that position of leadership, then we would just eat whatever we want, as much as we want, and the Taraweeh, the night prayers, would definitely be compromised. But that's it. And also then you can't demand that respect from the community, because you're not respecting your own position. So you're not respecting yourself, you're not respecting your own position. So how do you expect everyone else to give you the respect of a leader when even you are not doing that?
Another point I wanted to mention on this issue of leadership was that a lot of people, they ask this question that, like, should you seek leadership? And of course, we look at our Islamic history, and that wasn't the norm, especially for the pious predecessors. They wouldn't seek out leadership. But why? Because of the responsibilities that comes because of it. It wasn't because of the power. If they wanted the power, then like people would be running after them to accept it, and they wouldn't accept it. It was because of the responsibilities that it was necessary. Now the situation is different. Now the situation is there's so few people who are capable of that position that, like, you're in a position that, like, if you feel that you have the ability to do it, if you feel you're sincere, and of course that's it's a difficult path to tread. I think is that the phrase that we use. It's something difficult to balance.
Yeah.
Okay, your sincerity and, like, trying to balance it. What are the reasons that you're doing it? Are you doing it for power, or is it actually the responsibility that you
also your ego comes into that as well?
Ego. I mean, it's like we're human beings.
Yeah,
like
there has to be balance. You're not always going to perhaps have a healthy ego about it, especially when you do start getting the taste of that power, because it is there's power in those positions.
Yeah.
But yes, like I said, it should be about, okay, if I am in a position of leadership, it's more about responsibility. It's all about the sacrifice. Yeah. The reason you have power is because of that sacrifice. It's because you need that in order to influence, in order to do the things that are necessary.
Yeah, exactly. And I was saying that if you feel that you're in that position, that you can fulfill those duties and you are a good candidate for that position, then we're living in a time that you need to step forward and make your case and fulfill those duties.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, the world is filled of people who are incompetent, and who just don't have the best intentions at heart.
Yeah.
So it's either that or like again, it's not about you. It's about the community. It's about the greater good, as you usually put it.
But it is. It's not about. It's not about what you want.
Yeah.
So if you are, like you explained, if you are a person that feels they can do a better job politically than what is currently available, or your intentions would be more sincere, or you have some ability that the world can benefit from, then it's not about what you want. It's about your responsibility to the world, essentially. At first your family and then your community, but the world, if you extrapolate that. And that's what it is, this idea of, there's people have all sorts of different talents and abilities, and in a day and age where attention is everything, when you kind of have to put yourself out on social media, a lot of people don't want to, because obviously they value their privacy, and I completely understand that. But really think about that, because now it's really about that responsibility. You have something. Are you going to spend the rest of your life keeping that to yourself? That was the situation with ourselves. I would rather that we not put ourselves out there. Personally, I would rather that I would not put myself out there on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube. That I would live a life where, yes, I have my family and I'm happy and my finances are
we're fine where we are, and
exactly.
we're making change on the ground. We're active. It's not like we're in the background. I know we're active in our communities in Waterford, and myself in Dublin. Like we're active. But it's a different situation when you're putting your face out, you're online. It's a different situation.
Your privacy is gone.
Exactly.
And it's not just about yourself there as well, your family. You're going to be scrutinized for everything you put out there forever. And that's the thing for myself as well. Like, we don't need to do this. We don't have to do this. But it's as in when it comes to like our personal goals or everything, when it comes to finances and anything like that, we don't have to do this with regards to that. But we realized that when it comes to overall responsibility and putting out there our abilities and what we believe God has given us that is different or perhaps superior to others and others don't have, that it would really be a waste of such an ability and talent if we're not putting ourselves out there.
Yeah, and we'll get into the whole story about like why we started the channel and some of the hiccups or some of the things that happened on the way, perhaps in another podcast. Another development during Ramadan was the progress in terms of the channel, the Ali Brothers channel. And of course...
Over 200 subscribers now.
Over 200 subscribers now on the YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
What
Seriously.
are you doing?
This is the future.
Yes.
You better get in now.
Seriously, I don't know. It's shameful. But we're active on the social medias now, alhamdulillah, on YouTube, on Instagram in particular. And we had the daily reminders, which we've gotten a lot of good feedback for, alhamdulillah. And we had our first podcast during Ramadan. So do you want to tell us about that? How did that come about?
That was really a fantastic experience. And I don't think if we were to predict that, we wouldn't have predicted that our first podcast would be in Ramadan, and especially who I was with. So we recorded our first podcast. And shout out to Islamic Relief. Again, thank you so much for providing us with your space to record that podcast.
Our good friend Abdul Qadir from Islamic Relief.
That's right. They provided us with the space, and also they were the reason that we got connected with our guest Shabbir Hassan.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this turned out to be a fantastic experience. I have to say, initially, personally, I didn't know too much about Shabbir Hassan, and I thought, okay, this can be interesting. This will be a good start. And you sent me some of his material, and I thought, this is quite interesting. You were saying that he has good balanced views, similar to our own, which surprisingly are quite rare to find online.
Even me personally, I've you guys might have seen his podcast on Ilmfeed. He's usually the host on that podcast, and it's different when you're the host because your personality is somewhat restricted, and it's based on you bounce off the guest to a certain extent. But he had a nice podcast with the brother from Deanspiration, the Scottish brother. I had a watch of that, and it was quite an interesting one. And some of the topics were similar to we talked about. By the way, that's going to be airing. It's inshallah going to be out by the time this podcast is out. But that's going to be we're going to send this out on Saturday this week.
Yeah, inshallah.
But yeah.
It was a fantastic experience. Anyway, I was saying that initially I didn't know too much about Shabbir Hassan, but I looked up some of the stuff and I was very interested. And the guy's a rapper, so that was really, really cool. I thought that was great. It just seemed like he had such a healthy outlook on life in general and incorporating Islam and how to spread the message in a healthy way.
Yeah.
So I was really interested, and I didn't really have many expectations going into this. To be clear, it was Ramadan.
It was almost off the cuff, the whole situation.
Yeah. It was. We kind of.
Because we're busy with Taraweeh and...
Yeah, we were busy with everything that we were doing. So it was on a weekend, right? I mean, not
it
that
was
it
a
made
Sunday.
It was a Sunday.
Yeah.
And we thought, okay.
You're right, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, in Ramadan, it didn't really make a difference to us if it was a Sunday or not, if it was a weekend or not. But anyway, we drove up to Dublin and really no expectations. We're like, okay, let's get this done. It'll be a good start and let's see what happens. So we went into the Islamic Relief offices and then we met him. And I have to say, my personal experience, from the get-go, it was extremely positive. He just seemed like a very positive person. He seemed very ready and let's just say he had the appropriate energy for a podcast.
Yeah.
And that's really saying something, especially during Ramadan when you're fasting.
That was crazy.
That was pretty... And when we saw his energy, our energy went up as well. Remember, all of us are fasting.
Yeah.
So you have to... And that was a concern of mine as well, that, okay, this is going to be our very first podcast.
Yeah.
And we're going to be fasting. Most people aren't, they don't give a damn if you're fasting or not. What's the end result? And fair enough. That's how it should be. So I thought, okay, it's going to be difficult to make this good, but let's see how it goes. But our experience was so much better than we could ever have imagined, really. The content, and it'll come out when you see it. It'll be out by the time this is going to come out for sure.
Yeah.
But
some of the topics were kind of unexpected. We were going in thinking, it's it's not going to be that controversial or anything. But from the get-go.
From zero, Brother Shabbir was in it. He was ready for it, and I have to say that was a lot to do because you were the one who did it with him. It was a lot to do with the energy you were giving off, but also he got comfortable very quick.
He was very comfortable. Yeah.
He was very comfortable in that environment, and
in fact, he made me comfortable, to be honest, because it was the first podcast. I was like, we had this plan to do the Ali Brothers podcast, but I was like, okay, are we on the way? I was like, okay, is this going to be a podcast now, or like, what's the story?
Yeah. Where's the channel going to go from here even?
And then I was like, we're going to announce it as Welcome to the Ali Brothers podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I was kind of nervous at the start, but he was an amazing guest. He obviously has experience of being the host.
That really helped that he's been on the other side hosting podcasts, so he understands that obviously there's difficulty when it comes to guests and if they're not talking enough or anything. And that was great with Shabbir, that he loves talking and he's not rambling. He's making such fantastic points.
Brilliant.
That I was the one behind the camera, and I was literally on the edge of my seat throughout the whole time.
It was
so it went on for about an hour and a half, and basically all of it is going to be up there.
And we have the short videos out, and if you've seen the full podcast by now, you can attest to this, that it's basically an hour and a half of short clips, so engaging
one
from
after
the start.
another.
And like a high,
very cohesive as well.
It
was brilliant. He was amazing. He was fantastic. He really, we didn't expect that, and his mindset. We were on the same wavelength. He felt that. We felt that, and inshallah, we'll definitely be doing things with him in the future, because there's very few people, especially when it comes to imams or Islamic leaders, that people who have an influence online. Muslims who have an influence online, that have our kind of mindset of essentially, if you were to summarize it, take the good, leave the bad.
And be independent as well.
Yeah, be independent. One thing I really admire about Shabbir, and we weren't really getting too personal. You can see from the energy of the guy. He's a guy, and any man can respect this. He's a guy living life on his own terms. And I love that. When he was talking about business, when he was talking about leadership, he was talking a little bit about his family when it comes to travel and everything.
Also about disagreements with some of his teachers.
Disagreements.
Like being able to balance respect and yes, there's
still having your own independence and your own independent thought.
Yeah. Something that we didn't explicitly touch in the podcast, but you may have gathered. But that point was when we were talking about imams having businesses and why they're being criticized for that and why they should be independent financially. One of the reasons is so that they can do their job correctly. Yeah. And they're not going to be tied to the masjid committee or the community that they're going to have to give fatwas for a certain reason.
Yeah.
And like you see this quite commonly in Islamic history, that the scholars weren't always funded by the government, that they were, I don't want to be controversial, but being independent has that benefit. That you are free to do your job in a way
your
that
own actual opinions.
Yes.
It's not going
to be influenced by.
Yeah, it's not in any way. That's exactly what I was going to say. That and they can't be in any way influenced. That you can't be bought in that sense.
Yeah.
And that's he really, really encourages that kind of financial independence in order to retain your own thought, your own beliefs, in order to be able to express them. And that was really refreshing to see. He was a guy who clearly lives life on his own terms, and as a man, I really respect that, because I say men in particular, because that's the dream life, isn't it? That you do what you want when you want, kind of a thing. You're not answerable to anyone but God, and that's a great. He really lives that kind of life, and it's amazing. It was inspiring for me to see that. But his method of inviting to the religion, or also just kind of explaining the religion, I think it's beautifully balanced, and it's really good. He talks about his businesses and everything, his family. It was just really cool for me to see. And also, when I say living life on his own terms, he does rap, and he does that sort of stuff. Yeah. His let's call it his passion projects, and that's I think that's just so cool.
It genuinely is. Yeah. And if Brother Shabbir is watching this episode and he is subscribed to our YouTube channel,
I think he is.
He is.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
And it was an absolute pleasure to have you on. And for any of the viewers, inshallah, we're definitely going to have a part 2. Inshallah, multiple episodes with our brother Shabbir. Yeah. So let us know what topics you want to you want to discuss when we have him on next.
Because the way that conversation went, really, we could have talked to him. That could have been a 5-hour podcast.
Easily. Yeah.
We could have kept talking about, and that's what we were talking about. He got very comfortable. He opened up. It was very natural, and I felt a fire in him that was really. It was entertaining, of course, but it was really genuine.
It was genuine, and it was maintainable. It wasn't like the youthful energy that we have, like, you need to.
It was.
You have that energy, but it's being put in it's being used in a proper way.
Yeah, it's
being channeled correctly.
It's managed. Exactly. Yeah. It's channeled correctly. Exactly. He's very experienced, so that I can clearly understand where that comes from. But it was very exciting to see him fired up about these things, because it's the same things that get us fired up, or the same, let's say, complaints we have of modern Muslim society, modern societies in general. Yeah. So that was really really great to see. And afterwards, we were just going home, basically just celebrating how great that was.
Directly after the podcast, we kept on talking for.
It was amazing.
It's like the podcast just continued. It was fantastic.
It was so great. One of the reasons we kept talking about it also is because to find that kind of a person is very rare. To find a person, not just a Muslim, but a Muslim leader who has the credentials, who has balanced, real views.
Yeah, and also you can talk to him.
Yeah,
This is something that we constantly.
You can have differing beliefs.
You can have different beliefs, and like he'll respect you. He's not gonna like throw you against the wall. Like, what are you doing?
He's not the guy. He's not gonna He's not gonna ridicule you. He's not gonna humiliate you. He's not going to end your career. He's not going to question your masculinity. Which is one of the things, for some reason. First of all, I don't understand why that is coming up in debate these days. But if it's a debate about something, I don't understand how it benefits any party if you start bashing them personally or start questioning their masculinity. And it was so refreshing to see that you can have a conversation, you can get fired up, you can be passionate about topics, and you can still be respectful.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
you know?
And like to mention that point, to kind of defend that as well. Sometimes it is warranted if the quote unquote opponent is just subpar or one of the little ones. If you know what I mean. But especially in real life, like it's usually not the case. Like that's one of the reasons that we started the podcast or started the YouTube channel, because in Ireland in particular, the situation, and we talked to Brother Shabbir about this, the situation in Ireland is very different to the situation in the UK, for example, and the situation in the US. We don't really have much of a dawah scene here because the population isn't, like, it's not big enough to have our own debates or have our own communities at that level where the youth are discussing the issues on the ground. The youth, of course, because of social media, and we talked about this at length, the issues that are discussed on the social media in the UK and the US, those are the issues that are being discussed here. And now there is a harsh divide between the quote-unquote practicing group who are well versed in those kind of theological debates, those
Islamic law
issues of intricacies of these kind of issues that
overly complicated.
They don't even know themselves. Like, they don't have the credentials is a whole other thing, but they don't have the full understanding of that topic that they're talking about. But there's a harsh divide between them and people who have Muslim names, who are just quote unquote cultural Muslims. That we don't know anything that you're talking about. Like, we don't know what you're saying, and for those two groups to talk to each other, that doesn't exist. That you can talk to each other, because one group is like you're kind of pushing people of their own group who are trying to practice to the side, and there's absolutely no connection between people who try to follow as well as they can compared to people who are not particularly interested or they follow culture more so than religion. So that's one of the reasons, and we'll get into that in more detail in another podcast.
Yeah, but balance and nuance is completely dead these days, and particularly when it comes to something like religion, it's just exaggerated. Because it is a topic that's so passionate,
and it does make sense. Like, I always say that it makes
understandably
sense.
so.
Because you're talking about the truth with a capital T, as I use the phrase. But like, you're talking about the divine truth. You're talking about like the prophets. You're talking about God. I mean, like, it makes sense why people get fired up.
People are obviously
not even fired up, but it makes sense why people are sensitive about these issues, and passionate. It makes sense. But even from that perspective, like, a verse that I constantly mention is that I say that we live in a time where it doesn't matter what you say, it matters how you say it. But then there's the verse in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's telling the Prophet, peace be upon him, that if you were hard-hearted and difficult with the people, that they would run away. They would run away from you. They wouldn't have. They wouldn't want to have anything to do with you. Even though he was the prophet, he was the final prophet, and he has the truth. Like, I mean, what else do you want? But like, even if you have that, it's not about the arguments that you make. It's not about the knowledge or the message that you have. It's about how that comes across. Even at that time, even at that time where you have the prophet and everything there in front of you. But it's all about how you send the message.
There's a time to be strict and very hard about something, but there's a time where you have to be a bit. Are we getting attacked?
That was pretty.
Pretty intense. Someone's found the Ali Brothers podcast recording location and they're not happy with what we're saying, it seems.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about. That, like, even if you're in a position where you're uncomfortable, it's always about being cool and calm in that position.
Yeah.
Do you know? Like, even if someone like knocks a window like that, it's you have to be calm in that position. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
exactly. Look, there's a time for an ass whooping, right?
What were we talking about? What were we talking about?
We were talking about balance, nuance.
Yeah. But we also wanted to talk about Eid.
That's right.
After Ramadan, we have Eid.
Yes, after Ramadan we have Eid.
What was your experience?
You were up in Dublin for Eid, right?
I was in Dublin for actually pretty much the entirety of Eid, yeah. And it was quite interesting. Because, what are you saying?
You came in the evening.
I came in the evening,
home,
I came in the evening.
Yeah.
And in the morning, we had Eid Salah in university, in Trinity College.
What time was it?
It was 8 o'clock, around 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
But because people had the week off, actually, so
Okay.
we didn't have too many people there. But maybe next year, inshallah,
they were all gone home?
We'll have more, yeah, because it was reading week before exams for them. And we had around 20 people for Eid prayer and for the khutbah, because it was a Friday as well. So yeah, it was nice. I saw one of the lads. It was so nice to see. He was wearing a white jubba, a white thobe, and he was wearing the headgear and the whole situation. He was wearing a waistcoat.
Full regalia.
Full regalia, yeah. And it was just so nice to see that, like, that's what we need on Eid.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, he doesn't.
If there's one day.
There's one day, and he was saying that, like, yeah, I was talking to my friends, and I said that I'm going to go into classes like this. And they're like, I'm not sure if you should do that. And I was like, if there's one day, yes, do it today.
Yeah,
like, I mean,
that's it.
Who cares? Like, celebrate your day.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that's the mindset that we wanted to talk about. That, like, that's the mindset that you need for something like Eid. Ramadan is obviously different because you're fasting. You have that. But for Eid in particular, because for example, he didn't have family, or he didn't many friends in Dublin. He was going to go to the UK to his family to celebrate later. And that's the mindset that we need to have when it comes to Eid. What do you have to say about that?
You know what? There's very few Eids that I've actually enjoyed, and obviously
Haseeb is a very bad Muslim.
No, it's not.
You have to be happy on Eid. You're supposed to be.
Yeah, I think I said that in
every Eid khutbah.
Every Eid khutbah.
You have to be happy on Eid.
I actually said that, didn't I? I said that you have to be happy.
I said it I said in the Eid reminder, I think.
You have to celebrate. You have to be happy.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. You're living in a majority non-Muslim country.
Yeah.
Obviously, the general energy is not going to be that of Eid, which is fair enough. But I think the community doesn't even try that much either to really get together.
Right, let's bash the community, yeah.
No, okay. I won't talk about the community. I'll just say
just yet.
My experience hasn't been that great. I think it's a combination of factors.
Okay.
Eid,
the challenges when it
family,
comes to Eid is that we don't have that vibe, right?
You just don't.
That vibe doesn't exist in Ireland, because you're not in a Muslim country where you have, I don't know, the lights up and you have the markets are open and stuff. Here you have to make that yourself. You have to make that vibe. You have to hype yourself up for Eid. All right, like it's Eid al-Fitr, right? And the parents in particular have such a big responsibility to make that, to create that vibe for the kids in particular, because the kids, they just want to enjoy themselves. They're like, all right, I don't know, you put on henna and stuff like
henna. Yeah, put on henna and stuff, right? Oh my God!
Like what they know about Christmas and like I was about to say Oktoberfest. We don't live in Germany.
Whoa! Where did that go? What?
Halloween,
Oktoberfest. There's a very particular
New Year's and stuff. All these things is all right. It's fun.
Yeah.
If that is fun, you have to make Eid fun.
You have to go out of your way
for yourself as well. You have to go out of your way to make that. And in terms of having parties and stuff for the community, you have to go out of your way to create that vibe. Because it makes sense why why people aren't too bothered about it, because
Yeah.
like you have to go out of your way to do that.
I think there's another aspect as well, that Eid is that you know, you've gone through the month of fasting and it's been intense and it can be difficult at times, and we talked about the responsibility and everything throughout the month. So during Ramadan, kind of everyone, the whole family tries to support each other, even if someone's getting a bit difficult, or, you know, you're patient about it.
Oh, the fast is so long.
Yeah, I don't say that ever. Anyway, so everybody's quite patient with each other, you know. Now, as soon as Ramadan is over and Eid comes and nobody's
The
fasting,
blessings of Ramadan really,
you can honestly you can feel it straight
Yeah.
away. But then that day, what happens is now you finally have the energy back, right? And unfortunately, a lot of the time, so the families are together,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
you're forced to talk to your family
Yeah.
back home. A lot of us.
I will allow for this bashing. I'm gonna bash.
Yeah. So what happens is, you have the energy now, and you're talking to your family back home, your relatives back home, and your own family are finally together. It always ends in arguments, right? Why? Because now everybody finally has the energy to air out their grievances, and everybody starts talking crap about each other, and it's just, the day is ruined, because now finally the family is together. Even if you're not with your relatives, you're talking to them back home, but you're in contact with them. And then if your parents are in contact with them, they start talking about all these issues and all these problems. So all that energy is put onto you and put onto your family, even though your relatives aren't here in person. But all that energy, and it's all that negative energy. It's all about the complaints. It's your family is finally together in that sense, but the first thing to do is not to celebrate that they're together. It's to complain about each other and how much they hate each other. Like that's just how it's been every time. And like your parents are talking to the family back home and they're complaining about something. So it's all that negative energy, and that's why I can't remember the last Eid I actually enjoyed, because obviously I've spent some Eids away from family as well,
you don't have that.
on my own, and then I don't have anything. It's not positive, it's not negative, it's literally just another day. But when I'm with family now, it becomes that negativity can come in, because like I explained, the family situation, and it's just I've talked to non-Muslims about it, and they say the same about Christmas. The whole family gets together, and it always ends up in like fights or arguments, and they're all complaining about each other, because finally the family are back together, and they're almost forced together. You're forced to meet your uncles and aunts and your grandparents. So they're not together because they want to be together or finally together. No, they're forced together because you have to go meet your uncle. It's Christmas. You have to go meet your grandmother. It's Christmas or it's Eid for us. So when family especially are forced together in that situation, do you think it's going to end well? No, it never ends well. It always ends up in fights and arguments, and that's why the spirit of Eid, it's really nobody can really enjoy it. And I don't know what the solution is to that.
Do you know, it's also very similar to, like you're saying, it's the same for people celebrating Christmas. It's the same kind of idea. If we can just caveat what we're saying from our own kind of experiences, this is from a Desi kind of Pakistani, Indo-Pak kind of perspective. I'm sure it's actually quite similar in other cultures, but like we have experience from the Indo-Pak. But a lot of, especially young kids, like they just want to celebrate. Like they want to be with their friends. If they like their cousins and stuff, like they just want to have some crack. Like.
To be very clear about that, what we mean by crack is fun. And if there's anyone who's listening to this who's not Irish, crack means fun in Ireland.
It doesn't mean anything else.
It doesn't mean anything else. So they want to have some crack means that they just want to have some fun. The Irish will understand, but just to be clear to anyone.
That's how you spell it.
C-R-A-I-C, yes, not C-R-A-C-K. Just to clarify that. Crack is fun in Ireland, okay? No, crack. As in... Oh, God. We're getting cancelled. Crack is fun in Ireland. I think crack is fun everywhere. I've never tried it personally, but I would imagine.
They just want to have fun with their friends and their
Yeah.
cousins. Like,
Cousins.
but yeah, like. But when they're like, okay, you have to meet your grandparents now, and they're like,
And they're
do
forced
you
into it.
think-
They're
yeah,
forced
exactly.
into it.
Do you think they're gonna enjoy that?
Yeah.
If you want them to enjoy Christmas, like, I don't know, like, do you want them to enjoy Christmas? I'll leave that question open to you.
Yeah.
But I want my. I want young people in our communities to enjoy.
Do you have kids that we don't know of or something? This is information you should have told me beforehand.
Oh my god. So we want the youth of the community to actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
They are not going to enjoy it. Maybe you can ask them if they enjoy it or not. But I don't think they're going to enjoy it when they're with the family and the aunts and uncles and stuff. So yeah, and you're right. Like, I don't know what to do about it. Like, fair enough. But like, think about that. And at least as parents, to be honest, our parents understand that, like, look, this is something that you have to do. You have to talk to your grandparents. You have to talk to your aunts and uncles. Fair enough.
Yeah.
And you fulfill, you complete that
Fulfill your
obligation.
obligations. Yeah.
Obligation.
But that's another thing that parents can do. Rather than saying to your kids, okay, we're going over to your grandparents.
You have to
enjoy it.
Yeah.
No, say, look, I understand it might not be that fun, or we're going to this cousin's house, it might not be that fun. But we can do this, get this done, we'll stay there for a bit, and then we'll go to do something fun together, right, ourselves. Just be honest, because they can see, even the parents, they don't enjoy it.
Yeah, no,
Do you know what I mean? They don't enjoy it. So you stop lying to your kids about that. It's just be honest. Okay, look, this is something we have to do out of respect.
Yeah.
You have to out of respect to your grandparents or your uncles and aunts. This is something we have to do. It's an obligation we have to fulfill. We'll get this done and we'll go do something fun together. Something that's actually fun. So.
And again, we're not saying like just harbor hatred for your friends and family. We're just focusing on the point that the kids aren't going to enjoy. Yeah. And you don't enjoy Eid
a lot of the time. When you have to
when
you're forced to hang out with people that you don't necessarily want to.
Yeah.
But to be clear, like you're saying, it's not about don't talk to your family. Yeah. It's just understand that Eid is meant to be a very special day. You're meant to be celebrating it. So, yes, fulfill your familial obligations. Yeah. But do your best to enjoy it and do what you can to enjoy it. Another problem here is that I guess it's more relevant to Ireland in particular. There's not that many places you can go out to for dinner even and enjoy yourself. I would say even in Dublin.
It's
right?
actually pretty bad.
Even in Dublin, there's not that many places you can go, we're going to celebrate here and have food. Yeah, there are places. But
you can't have your desi, like, chana halwa.
No, you definitely can't.
You can't. Like, if you know a place, like, tell me. Like,
if you know any chana halwa place. Well, we mean like proper, not where it's faked. You know.
Yeah. Authentic style.
Authentic stuff.
Lahori chana puri.
There you go. In the accent and everything. But yeah, it's very. I don't know how to solve that. I don't think it can be solved. But you need to do your best to go out. I would say truly, you need to plan the day ahead.
You have to plan
just like a holiday.
Yeah.
Just like you're going on a holiday, you need to plan that day ahead. Okay, so. Let's say if they're working, if you can take the day off, great. Okay, in the morning.
And make it specific to the day.
Yeah, make it specific to the day, and that way you show your kids like this is a day where you're supposed to celebrate.
Because everything else, like you have anniversaries, you have birthdays,
and you plan it ahead, don't you?
Like that's all great and that's genuine.
Yeah.
But you have to, because it is an Islamic day of celebration. Like you have to celebrate that day and you have to cherish that day. And
you get rewarded from a religious perspective to celebrate. Why not? Use it. To
exactly.
Your advantage.
Like it's most of the reason is because the parents really, or like the heads of the family, like they don't really care too much about it. And yes, this is one of the challenges that like you're probably working on that day, or you have other
maybe
obligations.
The kids have school, or
kids have school. Yeah, exactly. But plan that day because. Like, these are the things that especially kids are going to connect. Yeah. Any other topics, guys, give us suggestions, send us messages, and like the videos, subscribe to the channel, send it to your families. And
tell us what you'd like us to talk about, what you're interested in knowing, because this is just the beginning, and we are not stopping. This is just the beginning. Inshallah, it's going to get better and better,
Inshallah.
and we're going to be getting on very soon some very interesting guests. We're gonna have some really fun guests on, and like I said, there's going to be some Muslim guests, some non-Muslim guests, some
not yet Muslim guests.
agenda, but yeah, it's going to be great, and
let us know if you connected with the topics that we were talking about. Do you disagree? Do you agree in terms of your experiences? How was your experience in terms of what we were talking
in Ramadan about Eid?
Ramadan, Eid, family.
Do you share the love for your relatives just like
Haseeb
we
does.
do?
Yeah.
Or how is it for yourselves? Because it is. There's obviously a lot in common, but the more we talk to people, obviously, the more we realize there's a lot of differences within those. Within those more traditional cultures as well, because we're obviously exposed to a very particular part of the world, you know. But we're really interested in knowing what it's like for people of different backgrounds. So
that's it for episode 3 of the Ali Brothers podcast with Ali brother number 1 and number 2, not pointing fingers. And we'll see you in the next one, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.